Hello and welcome to Braver Leaders, the podcast. I'm delighted today to have TJ as a guest. Actually, the very first guest. I've made a background podcast concerning Braver Leaders, and I've also done a little bit of the rationale between why I have created this podcast. But the first guest is TJ. So TJ, first of all, thank you very much for giving me your time.
It's a pleasure to be here to take a little break out of my usual mundane life and chat with you.
Well, I mean, yeah, it is hectic, and that's one of the things that I'd love to talk to you about. Before we begin, would you mind giving us a brief overview for those people who may not know you? Just telling you who you are, what do you do?
Okay, yeah, cool. My name's TJ and I run a social media account called Diary of a DJ. That's where the majority of people who would have heard of me, that's where they would have heard of me. And I also run an entertainment business, predominantly as a DJ, a wedding and party DJ, but I also hire some bits and bobs out through that as well. And I'm currently a risk assessor, I'm doing that part-time. I've started to step away from that slightly and move into more of the DJing. We'll probably come on to that in a second. And yeah, I left the military 2 years ago after serving 14 years in the infantry, in the Rifles, which I joined as a teenager. But before that, actually, I was a DJ. So as a teenager, I was a DJ as well, and that sort of links it all back round. So I'm married and I've got a son. And that really quickly sort of sums me up, I think.
Thank you very much. And as they say often in America, but probably not enough in the UK, thank you for your service. That's such an important thing, and very often such a selfless thing to do. I wonder then if maybe the best place to start. You've already touched on this. Is how was it? How is it that we came to know each other? And funnily enough, it was through social media. And I say funnily enough because I'm finding that most of the people that I know, I didn't meet them through social media initially, but it's beginning to happen more. And I started off posting some things, and I was talking about leadership. And I remember sitting there or standing there thinking, should I post this? Because I was kind of expecting that maybe there'd be a lot of flack over it, because you hear stories about certain platforms these days and what happens. And so there was a real element of trepidation. And I put it out there, and I thought it was okay. And lo and behold, there was no hate and hardly any comment. But you made a comment, and I think another one after that on another video. And I thought, wow, and it was really considered. It was, I thought, really well observed. You had no reason to do this. I mean, I had no connection to DJing or whatever. And it stuck with me. And through that, you end up then, you follow and follow back and all that stuff. And I just watched what you were doing, and I thought, there's something about this guy that I think is what I consider to be important in terms of leadership. There's something ethical, there's something moral here, and also something which seems to be drawing people in. And maybe we'll talk about that later on. So that was the connection, and that initial intuition, I think, was correct. But if we could touch initially on then what you just described. You've got a family, you've got a business, and you've got another business. And I'm guessing that they are quite different. And of course, you've got to make sure that you get the home-life balance. How are you doing all that stuff? Because I know you're a really busy guy. What is the secret of keeping going, resilience, whatever you want to call it?
Okay, yeah, right. Okay, so first of all, it's like, I think, perspective. So what is busy? Do you know what I mean? What is lazy? What is any of these words? It's all your perspective of that. So like I said before, I was in the military and I was away a lot. Whether I was away or abroad or whatever, or whether I was just away Monday to Friday on camp, because I used to be separated from my family because we were location wise. We wanted to be settled for our son. So I spent a lot of time away. So I classed all that time as work. So if I'm away Monday and I come back Friday, even though I might not be working that whole time, I've got to sleep and eat and chill, I still class as that as work. Because if I'm away from my family, I sort of think that's work, unless I'm, I'm out with friends or whatever. So now that I'm not in the military and I'm at home and I come home every night, I class that as I've got a lot more time, right? So it doesn't matter if I'm working Monday to Friday and then I nip out, I go and do a gig on a Saturday. I still have a lot more time with my family than I did a couple of years ago. So that's the first thing, it's sort of perspective. The second thing is organisation. One of the transferable skills that you bring across from the military is organisation. A lot of soldiers have it, and discipline. And I'm a list writer. I write lists on everything, and in front of me I can pull out, I've got a permanent list on one of my screens, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 things to do today. And I've already crossed about 5 or 6 things off this morning. So if it's not written down, because like we're all human, do you know what I mean? We forget things. If it's not written down, then I worry that I'm going to forget to do it. So I've got a list, and I will get to the point of where I can do no more on that list for a certain bullet point, and then I'll shift it to another day, or I'll organise myself through there. But I don't, it is hectic, it is a lot, but it's enjoyable. And when it becomes not enjoyable, then I guess I've got to slow down with it all and prioritise. God, that was long-winded.
No, not at all. I think that's absolutely fascinating. I hadn't thought about some of those things in that way before at all. That what you mentioned when you said perspective, this idea of what you're used to and then how you view other situations based on what you're used to, which gives you the perspective to look at it and say, I've got a lot of time. That's fascinating. And I wonder if there's an application for people who are listening and watching to then consider what is the perspective? Do they have that time? And of course, I would throw into the mix that, are they being present? Are they actually realizing that they have that time, that quality? Or are they thinking, I don't have time, and telling themselves that? And again, being, the so-called busy idiot, as it were, which I've certainly been and I'm capable of doing. So that's fascinating. And the list to me also says discipline, because I'm the same. If I don't write it down, it won't get done, and I'll go in 100 different directions. And again, busy idiot, or maybe just idiot. And the list is twofold. I think one is the discipline to make sure that you write it down, but then also to do it and to follow through. Can I ask, do you prioritize that list, or does it just follow the sequence you've got to do things in?
Yeah, I do prioritise it. I've got high priority and low priority within the list of each, and it goes on each day. It's an app called Things 3, if you ever want to check it out. It's really, really good. And so I tag it with the high priority or low priority. And I've got other tags as well, like to do while at my desk, to do while I'm out, etc. I do all this tagging. So if I'm out in the van or whatever, and I'll just finish doing whatever I'm doing, say I'm nipping to the shops or whatever, and I'll look at my list, I'll go, actually, while I'm out, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, I've got to do that. It literally, it comes across like a bit of a madman, but nobody sees it because I'm just like looking at my phone going, yeah, next objective, and off I go. But yeah, do you know what? Like when I came out the army, one thing I've realised recently is life, and certainly my family in this home, is not a platoon. And it's really difficult sometimes. You almost do get institutionalized when you serve for a long period of time, and then you come out, and if my son doesn't act a certain way or do a certain thing, I'm like, right, I can't believe it, blah blah blah. And my wife's like, you calm down a little bit, because he's not one of your lance corporals. Do you know what I mean? So but that sort of, I really do think I've mellowed slightly, but I feel like I can't take my eye off the ball when it comes to the list, because I've got such a busy life. If I stop doing that, I think it will all turn into one big mess. So I'm sort of, I juggle that and I keep going with that.
Oh, thank you. That's absolutely fascinating. And the name of the app again, just in case nobody.
The name of the app is Things 3, and you can get it for, I don't know if it's on Android, but it's certainly on Apple. It's a tenner one-time purchase for your phone. It's 20 quid one-time purchase for your iPad, and it's 50 quid one-time purchase for your Mac or MacBook, and they all sync up with each other. So while I'm out, if I make a thing on my, say tomorrow, oh, we've got to do this tomorrow, bang, 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 bang. When I get home on my Mac, it's already there saying the date when I need to do it. It syncs with your calendars, so it shows up the times you need to do things. It's really powerful. And I have little, I'm looking at it now on my other screen. I have little headings as well on the left-hand side. So I've got like home, and if I click in the home heading, it's a little subfolder. There's like a shopping list. There's a thing called Xmas, so Christmas. So if I make everybody's name in my family and then write down the presents I'm going to get them throughout the year. So if someone says, "Oh, I really like that," it goes in so that come Christmas time, I know what to get them. Vehicle details, so when my cars run out of tax, MOT, insurance. Anyway, that's home. There's lots of different things in there. I run all my DJ bookings. I've got a tab for that. My fitness plan. I coach a football team, so I've got all the details of the football team in there. And then there's lots of different, like all my passwords in there and stuff like that. There's lots of stuff in there, and it runs my life. It's my brain.
That's amazing. I've never heard of that app before, and I have never heard of anyone who has written down, logged and followed in such detail those various aspects of their life, and yet I can see that is going to be so powerful. That's amazing, and that's. I hope other people hear this, because I certainly will have a look at that. I'm sure that I need it. I laughed when you said, and I coach a football team, so I'm thinking, where's the room in the day? But then the room in the day is because you've got it categorized.
And do you know what? It's not normal, Mike. It's crazy, and it's too detailed, but it's the way I sort of like keep going forward with the things that I want to do. If I didn't want to do it, I could do. If I didn't want to coach, it's my son's football team. If I didn't want to coach it, I wouldn't coach it. But I want to do it, and in order for me to do that whilst running a business, whilst doing everything else I do, then I need to organise myself, and that's just the thing that I've been doing for years.
That's amazing. And actually, you mentioned that you enjoy it, and you talked about joy, the fact that you enjoy that stuff. There's a joy to it, and that's probably important to flag up as well. That so you've got those lists, but a lot of the stuff that you're adding in or that you do as part of the day-to-day routine, if I could call it that, is there's also a joyful element. There's an enjoyable element for it, and I think that's useful for all of us to consider as well, and where we can have that in our lives. And certainly you have inspired me just listening to that in terms of a list, because I've been doing it, but it's pretty rudimentary, and it definitely needs tightened up. So thank you so much.
No, do you know what? Check it out, Things 3. Check it out, and I put literally everything. So I say that I've got like 20 things to do, but some of them are so minute. Like I'll just like, one of them's get AA batteries for Max because his controls run out. So he said to me this morning, "Oh, my Xbox controls run out." So I'm like, "No worries, I'll get them today." As I was speaking to him, just bang, 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 bang. And some of the other things is like, log a payment for something that I've bought. So for my business, I'll just, rather than, if I haven't got time to log it there and then, if I put it down there. Now, when I tick these things off, I can sleep at night because my brain is completely clear. And I know for a fact, as long as you're accountable, you're disciplined enough not to go, "Oh, I can't," and because if you let those 20 things run over to the next day, you've got 40 things the next day. So as long as you keep on top of it, you're accountable, and like I say, you're enjoying doing it. I do enjoy the cleanness of my life by ticking all these things off, and then at the end of the day, I make a cup of tea, just chill out with my son or something, and sit down and go, "Do you know what? Everything I need to do is done. There's nothing rattling around in here," and then I can relax.
And that other part that you mentioned, sleep. So I mentioned the word resilience before. That was my word, not necessarily yours. How do you do all this stuff? And I was thinking that even with joy and even with that level of organization and focus, resilience in part is quality recovery time. And of course, a big part of that for many of us is sleep. And so what you just said, I think, is so important, that because you've done that, you can sleep well. You can relax, and so I would again highlight that to anyone listening, watching, to ask you the question: what do you need to do to get that quality of sleep? Is it something like writing it down on a list? And I certainly would second that. I feel that if at the end of the day I am in a space where I'm on top of things, let me put it that way round, then definitely it's easier to sleep. But I didn't make the connection to what you were doing until you mentioned it. So I think that's fab. Thank you. Really, really useful, to say the least. And so that I suppose then brings us on to, armed with a list and a good night's sleep and some passion. So we're getting perhaps a bit of an insight into what is part of your success. I mean, I've watched you on social media, and you've recently, or relatively recently, you've been featured in a magazine. Is that right? And you also won an award. Can you remind me what that one was?
The award is the Pro Mobile DJ's DJ. In fact, it's up there. You probably can't see it. I'll grab it down a bit if you want. I'll get it down now. Shall I get it down?
Yeah, but I've got, please. Yeah, thank you.
I'm quite proud of that, so I keep it up there. But it's probably needs a dust. It's an award it's voted for by other DJs, and it's an award to recognise a DJ every year that's gone above and beyond to help other DJs and and to do something for the industry. And I really didn't expect to win that, but there we are. I was chuffed with it.
Yeah, I had a feeling you would, which I was delighted. I mean, you get this vicarious thrill. It's like, wow, hey, he won that, and you've got a large following that's gone up and up and up and up. And I should say at this juncture, because I was thinking about getting into this area with you, and for me, it's not about the number of people as such, although that's one indicator. It seems to me that you've created a community, and there are various communities, and there were communities there before. But from what I've seen, you've kind of unlocked other people helping other people, and you've done a few live broadcasts together with folks, and somehow, this is my take, and maybe it's totally wrong, but it seems to have become more collegiate, more community-based, more helping, and a lot of people looking to you for advice and input and support. Have you any idea how you've done that, or what's caused that to happen? I'm guessing it's more than one thing.
I think right, okay, so I think there's a few things at play there. First of all, I think the type of people that are wedding DJs and party DJs have it in their personality to be entertainers, and TikTok and Instagram and YouTube and stuff is a gateway to entertain, isn't it? So a lot of people are stood at that door, right, but they don't want to open it because they're a little bit worried about how it's going to be perceived, and they're a bit worried about, do they have the right to jump on TikTok? Because initially you're thinking about your friends and your family, and you're thinking, how's everyone going to feel about this? I went for exactly the same as that, and I just went, you know what, stuff it, and I'm going to start posting. And I think by doing that, I mean, there were people I didn't invent being a DJ on TikTok, but within the community I've got, I feel like a lot of other people saw that and went, do you know what, I can do that as well. And they started posting, and then they realised that it's okay. They started doing other reviews, gig logs, things like that. So I think that it's just also being relatable and real. And I think most of my content is just a guy talking to his friends, if you know what I mean, rather than, I feel like I have done things in the past where it's like trying to promote a product, and that content always doesn't go down as well as just switching on a camera and saying, hey, today we're in this venue, this is the equipment I'm using, we're going to have a blast, follow along to watch or something. Or, you know, this I did a video this morning about my thoughts on the new Pioneer, or Alpha Theta, the new brand, the new controller they've brought out. And I was waiting for the gym to open and I had a thought in my head. And this is another thing, if you've got it in your head, just let it out. Just if you want to go down that road of like documenting, it's diary of a DJ, it's my diary. So I just let it out, I don't overthink it. So I just flipped my camera on, it was dark outside, so I jumped in the back of my van so we had some light in, and I just spoke, and it was just my thoughts. And that sort of authenticity is that connects with people, and I think it's more endearing than someone really carefully scripting what they're going to say. But
That's
my
fab.
thought.
Thank you. So just to replay some of that, there were so many people who were thinking about doing what you did because they have the need to perform or show themselves performing or be in that space, but didn't. And you, in a sense, not your words, mine, led by example. You did it, and you said, you know, I had those doubts, but you did it. So there's that trailblazing element. I'm sure you weren't the only one who's done that. Of course, I don't want to demean or ignore other people, but certainly it sounds like, and in fact, I think the proof is there that a lot of people were thinking, I'd like to do that. Then you did it, and so. Literally, you're there showing how it could be done and showing that how well it could be done and the impact that had and has, and that is fascinating. I've said about some of the social media platforms, and you mentioned TikTok, and one of the things I've said about TikTok is a little bit like a performing arts. You know, a celebration. It's like Edinburgh and the Fringe. You know, there's so many people doing so many different things, and that's wonderful. But partly because of that, I think with so many creators around in different ways, that can be people who are plumbers showing what they do, but having the confidence to say, hey, here's a creative solution. It can be someone who's an artist, a DJ, singer, whatever it is, and that does require people to be a bit vulnerable, to put themselves out there. And so seeing you do this has obviously inspired so many, which is fantastic. And the other thing I would pick up on is this relatedness. Absolutely, couldn't agree more. And I would say that about all the videos I've seen that you do. There is a naturalness to it. There's an element of, I think I kind of know this guy, even though, of course, many people don't. And I think maybe you defined why, because I've been trying to figure that out, and it's probably related strongly to what you said. Maybe there's other things, but you press the button and you talk. You know, there's enough light so that someone can see you, but the rest of it is just you. And that naturalness, I've said.
Can I just say something there?
Yeah, of course you can.
Sorry to interrupt you. It's it almost has to be the first time you say it is when you record it. I find when I do a YouTube channel, I run a YouTube channel with my friend, and he records and edits it. And we've had it in the past where we have had an idea, and we thought, yeah, when we get to a venue, we're going to do that, and we talk about it, and we're not like rehearsing it, but we talk about, oh, that would be good to say that would be good to say that, maybe we can come in at this angle, and we're laughing our heads off as we're driving along. Then when we record it, it's second time. Like, we've already discussed those ideas, we've bounced them off each other, and the chemistry's gone. And when you are saying something out loud for the first time, or you're reacting to something for the first time, your face moves in a certain way, your pitch of your voice changes, you take a few moments to pause and consider what you're about to say, perhaps you get it wrong and start again. include them in the videos, because that is what makes it real, that is what makes it relatable, and that's what makes someone else think they're having a conversation or they're listening to somebody naturally, rather than going over it and over it and over it and then saying it. And when you do that as well, you're less likely to actually post it, because you've thought about it, you've left it too long, you're going to second guess it, you might not even post it. And it takes a while to build a following and to build, you know, I wouldn't say, like you said before, I wouldn't say I've got a huge following, but the people that follow are, is like a community, and, you know, there's a lot of engagement on there. That takes a while, and you have to be consistent with those posts, because otherwise, if you second guess things and don't post things and don't post your thoughts, then people probably aren't going to engage as much as they could do.
Thank you. That again, that's a phenomenal insight. So you would go with the mistakes, so to speak, with the more natural video, the spontaneous one, rather than over rehearse it, because you're thinking too much. And I see a lot on social media, well, not a lot, but you get the adverts about teleprompters, and I recognise the need for them in certain situations. I don't use them. I probably wouldn't use them. I don't know whether I'd be very good at it anyway. And I think that, again, they have their place, but people aren't connecting with you really then. And if there are mistakes and there are screw-ups and it doesn't go quite well, then, well, that's life for all of us. So I think they buy into that as well. That's the connection, which is that's really interesting. And certainly, as you were talking, I'm thinking about stuff that I've done, and very often it's the first time you try it. That's true, and then you can get too precious about it. And if you do, as you say, you often don't post it. And thinking back, I've had a few attempts at some videos or whatever it may have been, audios, and then I don't post them because I've overdone it, and I just think, oh, that's rubbish. It's nowhere now, and then I suppose that the next little bit is then to ask you, have you anything that you would like to throw in or share or tell us where people can reach you or whatever. So I hand it totally over to you.
All right, cool. Yeah. So if you would like to follow Diary of a DJ, all you've got to do is type into either TikTok or YouTube, Diary of a DJ, and you'll see my profile there. And it is quite niche in a way. I've kept it niche. I've kept it as sort of like the thoughts in my diary as a DJ, rather than trying to bring in other elements of my life too much, because I feel like I've built this community, and even though I'm not just a DJ, that's not all that's going on in my life, that is the channel for that. And I feel like if I branch out ever so slightly to the left and right of that, I might lose the quality of the engagement that I've got, and that engagement and that community that I've built is more important to me than maybe growing tenfold followers, but documenting me going wherever doing something that's not DJ related, right? So that's the channel you find me there. My business is called Rewired Entertainment, so you can find that. There's a website, Google, Instagram, Facebook, etc., etc. But yeah, I mean,
that's where you are. Thank you so much. I would just add in there that it's really interesting, based on all the things that you've been saying and how you manage your time and how you create those videos and be spontaneous, that I have no idea about DJing, and I have not that much of an idea about music. There's music that I like, but I find your videos, and there's a few of your colleagues as well, they're really insightful, because partly you get to see other places, you get to see the world, you get to see venues, you then get backstage. This is what it takes to set it up. This is, and because sometimes I've got to talk to groups and bigger crowds and stuff like that, I'm always interested in that, I suppose, sociological part of it, which at first glance you might think DJ, but actually watching the videos and listening to a lot of the tips and the strategies about that floor and what doesn't work and what will destroy the mood and so on, you think, wow, you guys, and I mean by that guys and gals, are really are just doing an amazing job in terms of each of those particular events that you go along to. And there's a lot of pressure on there, which again, I hadn't really thought about, that you've got to get it right. So you've got to know what you're doing. And if you know what you're doing, then that's going to be successful. So yeah, if you're interested, and again, I'm not on commission, but I'd encourage you to have a look at those channels. They're absolutely fascinating. And I guess, TJ, it remains for me to say, unless you have anything else you want to add, thank you so much for taking the time and sharing your background, your tips and strategies and expertise. It's been brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed chatting today, and I really like our thing that we got going on. We chat, we chat sometimes on TikTok, we chat sometimes on WhatsApp, and me and you are an unlikely duo, aren't we, in some respects? Because
yeah, one of us good looking,
one of us ginger. But you know, we get, I don't know, we click. So it's great to have you as a friend.
Exactly that, mate. And that's also, I think it's fab. I think it's brilliant, and it's those connections where you didn't think they would be that, for me, make the world a richer and actually happier place. So thank you, and we'll talk again soon, no doubt. Cheers for now, mate. Bye.